All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the news. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, warshippers of all ages. That's a very Sea Raptor thing to say. Hello, Sea Raptor, if you're watching. Guys, we have not made a YouTube video in a little while, and it's because we've had so much going on that we have not had the chance to do this. We've been working on big videos during the month of December for Kitakami and for Michelangelo, as well as we had a ship show. I've been working on something special that we're going to do on January 20th, where we're going to talk about aircraft carriers with Angelic Cypher. You can check him out at twitch.tv/Angelic Cypher. Good dude, good stream. And not all pro carriers, very much pro carrier, very much pro counter carrier as well. You can check out Cypher at his show. But today we are doing the news, and it's great because we haven't put up a YouTube video in a while. I took some well-deserved time off, and now we're back. Our top story is about some brand new ships. But of course, before we cover that, we are going to go cover this story right here. Right here is what we've got: changes to submarines and ASW, exterior system update, and airship, escort, and more. This is one of those big grab bag articles that Wargaming does for us, and we're going to cover it all. First up, they hit us up with the biggest of bigs. They're hitting us up with this changes to ASW and to submarines. Let's take a look at what it says. It says, we are excited to unveil some additional details about our previously announced changes to submarines and ASW. With these changes, we are aiming to create a more consistent interaction between submarines and surface ships while still maintaining the current level of combat effectiveness. First, we are making a few changes to surface ship ASW, which are outlined below. Let's take a look at these because these are kind of cool. It says Venezia and Hindenburg lines, as well as the Prins Eugen and the Admiral Schroeder, are going to receive depth charge airstrikes instead of depth charges like they have right now. This is huge. I remember when I did my review video, when I did a hot take video about the Admiral Schroeder, I was like, I can't believe this friggin' heavy cruiser has over the side depth charges instead of air ASW. So this is a big change for Schroeder. Obviously, it's a big change for Hindenburg and the others, but Schroeder was the one that I think this is really exciting to see because it intends to be playing so much closer than a lot of those other ships as well. Both tier 5 through 8 battleships and cruisers, in other words, battleships and cruisers of tiers 5 through 8, will have their airstrike depth charges airstrike cooldown reduced. I can't read. It's been so long. Does anyone else know how to read? To balance this, the bomb damage will be slightly reduced for these ships as well. This means that you'll be able to use depth charge airstrikes more often, but you'll do lower damage output per use. So this is the kind of thing where you're going to use your air ASW more often, but you're going to do less damage with it. So what's cool about that, what that means for us is, and I say cool, I should say what's different, what's interesting to observe perhaps, is you might think it's cool, you might think it's not cool, is that the number of interactions between a submarine and a surface ship should increase as a result of this. The surface ship is going to do more attacking. It doesn't mean that the surface ship's going to be more busy, right? You're not just fighting a submarine pretty much ever. Most of the time you're fighting multiple ships at once, and so that is going to make you a little bit more busy. We're going to talk about the Massachusetts here in a minute. So right here it says depth charge, or I want to talk about this here. Lower damage output per use. It says here, ships that currently have special ASW settings will not be receiving any changes unless specifically noted. So I read this line right here, and then I went to the CC Discord and I wrote a little paragraph. And I said, guys, can we fix these boats? I'm giving you some feedback. All these boats that you shadow nerfed by giving them crappy ASW ranges is totally stupid. And I can't believe, I didn't say stupid, but I said it's totally uncool and it's very sus at best. And I gave them some sass. And then I came back to this article and I kept reading, and I read just a little bit further, and then I had to go back and erase my post. Let's take a look at it. In here, we have a table. This is all of the regular battleships and cruisers and all of their ranges. And basically, it shows what's going to happen. The reloads are going to come down. The longest reload you're going to have on Airstrike ASW is now 30 seconds. Then you're going to have ranges ranging between 5 and 11 kilometers. I don't think a lot of that has largely changed. The reloads are a little bit faster. They did say they're going to increase ranges but a lot of these ranges look fairly standard. I only checked a couple of them, like the tier 5 and the tier 8s. But regardless, we did get faster reloads, which is cool. Bomb counts, I don't know if these are changing or not, but here's the damage. In other words, here's the information. If you want to come back and reference it, you absolutely can. Then what they've got here is the list of Commonwealth cruisers, and I thought this was interesting. Now remember, our Commonwealth cruisers are going to include the submarine surveillance type of hydro. So they'll be able to identify and spot submarines from the surface at greater ranges than any other ships in the game. They're also going to have longer air ASW strikes, which means that these guys can actually locate the subs with their submarine surveillance consumable and then strike the subs, right? At least that's what they're going for. We're gonna, much depends on how well this is gonna come out, but right now that's what they're going for. If we take a look at this, tier 5 has an 8-kilometer air ASW range, whereas a normal tier 5 cruiser has a 5-kilometer air ASW range. This tier 10 is 11 kilometers. Tier 10 cruisers are only 8 kilometers. So we're getting some legitimate range increases here, which is kind of cool. Now, this isn't news necessarily, but it is a little bit more specifics, or there are some more specifics in this article that we didn't have previously. So I like that. Then they have this section here that says ships with special air ASW parameters. Cruisers, here it lists the Manchong, Aegir, Siegfried, Canarius. To be fair, I didn't go look these boats up. I don't know what they had before, and I don't know if, what the changes are here. But I did look at these battleships. Now, Giulio Cesare is basically keeping its same poor range, 4 kilometers. I think the reload here is probably buffed, but I didn't go look at the difference there. Massachusetts and Musashi both previously had 5-kilometer ranges. So this is nice. This is a 2-kilometer buff to ships that have been basically shadow nerfed because they're so old that Wargaming was not allowed to nerf them. So sometime between Thursday when I recorded the news and Saturday when I'm editing the news for YouTube, Wargaming changed the air ASW ranges for Massachusetts and Musashi from 7 kilometers back to 5 kilometers. Chegg just said something interesting. If you scroll down and read this bullet, depth charge airstrike range will be increased for Ohio, Thunderer, Jean Bart, and Jean Bart B. These were all, Ohio and Thunderer were 6 kilometers, JB was 5 kilometers. It says it will be similar to the ranges for other battleships of their tiers. In other words, they're effectively rolling back the nerf on these ships. This is something that I think a lot of people probably missed in this article because it's not in the table, and it was kind of tucked down here underneath the big, the heavier points of the news. But this is probably some of the biggest news in the article, if you ask me. Next line here says Venezia and Yodo lines are also, along with the upcoming Commonwealth line, are going to receive the submarine surveillance consumable in a separate slot as well. So that's cool. We're going to get sub-surveillance in Venezia and Yodo lines. What was really neat about this is the Venezia line had no sensors whatsoever. There's no hydro, there's no radar, there's nothing. And now they're at least going to have submarine surveillance, which is going to make the Italian cruisers be a little bit interesting. The trouble, of course, is that the Italian cruisers don't really want to be close to anything, right? So like the idea that they would drive into places where submarines are going to be is just kind of a weird idea. And so I don't expect that that's likely going to happen. Although Dostal just says, I'm going to use my Venezia's exhaust smoke and sub-surveillance to hunt down those pesky tin cans. I wish you good luck, sir. I don't think that's going to work for you. Yodo lines, I think, could do it. They're a little bit stealthier. I think they could work out. So I think that could be a little bit better. Let's keep going. Then it says the parameters of the submarine surveillance consumable. It says here, tier 5 through 6, 5 kilometers, 120 seconds, tiers 7 through 8, 6 kilometers, tiers 9 and 10, 7 kilometers, and so on. Commonwealth cruisers. Now, basically, this is saying everybody else who's got submarine surveillance, Yodo, Venezia, all of their friends, this is what they're going to have. Commonwealth has an extra kilometer. Delhi is the 5, Hobart is the 6. Uganda and Auckland are 7 and 8, and Encounter and Service are 9 and 10. So they're getting 1 extra kilometer on each one of those. Same duration, same number of charges, same action time. Let's roll down here. It says, finally, to balance out the changes to ASW, we will improve the turning circle radius of all submarines so that they have the opportunity to better maneuver and reposition. On average, their turning circle will become 20% better. This is actually really cool. One of the things Scott and I talk about a lot, and this is actually a phrase he's used, is playing a submarine feels like playing a destroyer that handles like a battleship, right? This 20% turning radius is going to address some of that issue. If we're going to be easier to hit, if we're going to be easier to find, if we're going to be hit more frequently for less damage, we want to be able to change our position, to redeploy, to maneuver, and to do things when we're in submarines. So that's a good thing. I think this is a good balancing thing to this. I don't know if I think it's going to be enough to counter some of the nerfs that submarines are receiving in the upcoming patches. But I do think that it's a start and it's a step in the right direction. So we'll see how this goes. And I'm hopeful that this combination of changes moves the needle slightly the right direction. But I do think that it's going to take a little bit more tuning from here. Okay, exterior system update. I'm excited about this one. I hope you guys are too, and there's some interesting math about it. Starting with 13.1, it is going to be possible for the majority of the expendable camouflages that are in the game to purchase permanent versions of them. This is a great idea. I think this is cool. There's a bunch of consumable camos that I think are really neat, and I cannot wait to apply some of them as permanents to some of my favorite ships. So that's a really cool thing. It does say that you'll be able to track them. They'll be kind of like the New Year's Epic or the Steel Camos. So when you get one in your inventory, it'll appear and you'll be able to like activate, apply one to a ship. Once you apply it, you cannot remove it. You cannot sell them. They're going to change some of the missions and things to reward you with permanent versions of the consumable camos, which I think is cool too. These aren't necessarily a good deal, just for the record. They cost 6 million credits. 6 million credits is the equivalent of 267 games at the expendable price. So it doesn't make economic sense for me to do this unless I plan to play 267 games on that ship. That's a lot of games. I think the 7 million credits, if I remember right, is like 155 games. And I think the 8 million credits is like 115 or 110 games. And then the 9 million credit ones are about 100 games, right? So think about this before you do it. Airship Escort is coming back. Everyone loves Airship Escort unless we have it all the time. So we like when it's rare. So they're bringing it back as a standalone and temporary battle type. This is probably what's going to replace asymmetric battles, is my guess. Asyms will probably go away, and then we'll get Airship Escort for the next few weeks or months or something. And then we'll probably go back to something else. Who knows what we'll see. But it's coming back. It's going to be tier 8s through 10s. And it will use the same rule set that was used before it was added to random battles, which I don't remember what the specific changes were. But anyway, it'll be like Airship Escort used to be. Clan battles are coming. We're going to have a clan battle season launching in 13.1. Remember, our next patch is 13.0, and the patch after that is going to be 13.1. So we'll have clans. That'll probably be sometime in February when this comes back. The format will be 7v7 with tier 10 ships and super ships. We did have somebody ask, I think Wargaming has claimed it will be 1 super ship per team, but time will tell on that. We'll confirm that here in a bit as more information becomes available. Submarines and aircraft carriers will not be permitted in clan battles. Teams are limited to 1 battleship. There are no restrictions on destroyers, no more than 1 Petro per team, and no more than 2 ships of the set that includes Napoli and Marseille can be on the team. Not a very unique season, but at least people will know what to expect. I think the super ships will be interesting. I'm surprised there's not a Condé restriction or a Condé anything yet, so we'll have to see if they decide to add something there as we go, because everybody loves Condé. I think she'll be a solid pick for clan battles until she is restricted. We've got this fantastic looking camouflage for Enterprise. They're calling this the Pacific Ghost permanent camo. It makes me wonder, but I don't know, but it makes me wonder if Enterprise is going to be available in some fashion in 13.1 or something. So keep your eyes peeled for news about Enterprise. This is not usually random or on accident. So we'll wait and see what we learn about Enterprise. Now let's get back to our top story here. Our top story, of course, are new ships, and these ones are the ships that are new. This is the Prins van Orange. I'm sure that is not pronounced correctly. Sorry, Dutch people. Hi. Hello, Dutch people. Anyway, this is a new upcoming Tier 10 premium, actually special, Dutch ship. Tier 10s are not called premiums, they're called specials. That's a good question, Biggles. I don't know. I wondered that same thing. But the Prins van Orange is here. It does have a permanent camo. The camo is not yet complete. Oranje. Yeah, that could be, Chick. That could be. The camo is not yet complete, so we don't have it just yet, but they do have a nice picture of the ship here. It says here that this is a variant of the Dutch Navy super heavy cruiser designed 1047, featuring a different armament configuration. The ship inherited her name, a traditional one for the Royal Netherlands Navy, from a mine layer, Prins van Orange, which I will put a picture of the real ship up for the YouTube version of this video, if you want to check that out. It's actually a very humble looking ship. They had a mine layer of the Prins van Orange class. And actually, its sister ship, the other ship in that class, was the Gouden Leeuw, which is pretty cool that we actually have both of those ships named after that. Anyhow, those two ships were real ships that did work in the Pacific theater. Both of them were lost during action over there. The Gouden Leeuw was sunk by a Japanese ship. I can't remember what it's called right now, but I'll put a picture of that Japanese ship up on this screen here for the YouTube version as well. And then the Prins van Orange was scuttled to prevent her falling into the hands of the Japanese by her own crew. Bariah Hacker, thanks for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. We're glad to have you here. Real quickly, I did want to grab and take a quick look at some Prins van Orange stats. She's got 51,900 hit points. That's not a ton of hit points. That's more like a Venezia or a Henry, and less like a Defense or a Stalingrad or a Napoli, right? All those ships have more hit points. So she's not the most hit point rich ship out there. Reload time's about 14 seconds. Her guns are 234 millimeter main battery guns. They got a range of 18.1 kilometers. It does talk up in here a little bit about her airstrike, which is long range, but a little bit slow to land. So they expect that this boat is going to be more gun focused than airstrike focused. So we'll see how she comes out. She's got 3 turrets, each with 4 barrels for a total of 12 barrels. And then they finally have a picture of Uganda. Uganda is a Fiji Class Cruiser. We love Fijis, and some of them come out well, like Mysore and Fiji, and some of them are not so great, like the one in the Pan American line, whose name escapes me right now. I'm hoping Uganda is one of the good ones, and so we'll see Uganda in the Commonwealth cruiser line. Uganda, which entered the Royal Navy service at the height of World War II, belonged to the second group of Fiji Class Cruisers. The ship took an active part in the landings in Sicily and Italy. That's cool. In the fall of 1944, the cruiser was transferred to the Royal Canadian Navy and subsequently operated in the Pacific Ocean. So 31,000 hit points, 952 millimeter guns. This one does have both HE and AP, and I'll be interested to see the parameters for those AP shells. One of the things that makes Fiji so special is that she's got improved AP things, and if Uganda has some of that, that'd be great. I'm going to guess she won't. I'm going to guess she's going to have pretty standard AP in exchange for also having HE shells. And with that, everybody, that is the news. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, why don't you hit subscribe either on the YouTube channel or follow here on the Twitch channel. If you're watching on YouTube, we do this live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Clyde Plays Live. You can come join us over there when we do the show for realsies. If you're watching it on Twitch, you could watch it on YouTube, where I'm going to have cool pictures of historical ships and things like that, which I'm going to plug in here because I think that's interesting, and maybe you will too. If you enjoy the content here on Twitch, you probably like the produced content over on YouTube. Everybody, thank you a ton for watching. I hope you had a great time with us. We will catch you in our next video, live stream, battle, or wherever we see you. Until then, take care of yourselves, be cool, be nice, and we'll see you out there. Bye.
This has been the news on Clyde Plays Live.